Hey everybody, it's your host Troy the Hourly Flipper. I've got an interesting video I hope for you where I talk about the things I've sold over the past weekend and then show you exactly from the two sales that I went to what I was able to find for, are you ready? $12.50. And how much I'm going to make from that, that's what you'll have to wait to find out. Let's talk about the things that I've sold and I'll give you a little bit of insight into each of the items. Number one, this small little lens cover. All right. That sold for $14. And where I got this from are one of the estate sales that were bag sales. Have you heard of those? Stuff as much as you can into a bag. Well, this took up, how much of a $5 bag? Let's say 20 cents worth of space. Sold that for $14. So that is an incredible markup. And it took a little bit of time to sell, but it was so worth it. The next is a book from the Goodwill shelf, The Devil's Chessboard. And it is a book about the CIA, that kind of thing back in the 60s. It was a $1.59 book and it sold for $15. That's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme. Put a pin in that. The next is The Children of Noon, the third version in Frank Hubert's original trilogy. And this one sold for $40. However, bought it for $1.59 at Goodwill in the book section. A Catholic edition of the Bible. This one was $15. Bought it for $1.59. And I found some Conan on VHS. This set is what's rare. You can get lots of Conan stuff on DVDs and on VHS, but this 2-pack was what was special. That's about $17 and I paid 50 cents for it. Okay? Those are things to watch out for. In general, the two sets are more valuable than the singles of VHS and DVD, but really VHSs have a little bit more value than the DVDs comparatively. Always look at high quality Bibles that are out there. And then if it's from Dune, original hardcover with the dust jacket, always pick it up. You're going to be pleased or super pleased with what you find. So those were my sales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sales. And that was maybe $7 of expense in cost of goods. And I made, again, about $50 from that. So not too bad. While, again, I was doing my own stuff. Oh, did you see the last video with some recommendations of yard sale tips? Go check that out if you're thinking about having your own yard sale. Finished our yard sale, and are you ready how much you made? $450 in a Saturday morning while this stuff was selling online. It was awesome. And I enjoyed the people that I met and had some family members come and we sat and hung out. So I recommend yard sales for things that don't sell on eBay and also the camaraderie that comes from it. Okay. Speaking of camaraderie, I went to 2 estate sales yesterday. It's something that my brother and I do and we like it a real lot, and found some, not a high volume of inventory I got, but some quality things all around. Speaking of quality, let's look at the first. Oh, no. I need to tell you about this first sale. It was in a home that they were definitely a lived-in home rather than a palace. Well, this one was definitely a lived-in home, but it had maybe 400 dolls in it in all states of repair. The first room was really hundreds, just standing there looking at you as you walk in. That was a little bit spooky, so we went through there kind of quickly and found, here's the 2 things I found at that sale. Scratch that, 3. The best thing was, this is a bag where you put important papers in, you put things that you don't want to catch fire, and it's a fireproof bag inside your house rather than a fireproof safe. This is a $40 item, and I paid $1. All right. My brother says that I took that right out of his hands. He didn't know what it was, and I got it. But truth was, he picked it up, then put it down. The second he put it down, I grabbed it. That's okay. Farmsteading is very popular and the books sell well online. Well, here's an example of a book that sells well online, about $10 to $15, and I gave half of $1, 50 cents. The last thing was just a fun pickup, by the way. This was near the end of the sale, so they weren't going to be selling much more anyway. And this was in the free box if you could use it. And it is a cord to a specific LifeLock kind of things that are there. They had a few extra cords to that thing. And so I got a cord that was free. I don't know anything about it yet. I want to see if there's any value, but I got like free stuff that was going to be thrown away in an hour. Okay, so those were the 4 things. Looking at that, that's about $50 worth of stuff. It took us about 15 minutes in that sale. So the per hour on that is pretty good. The second sale was the most interesting. It was a lived-in home too, but there were 2 floors, and they were a crafter. And you'll see that when some of the things that I show you come up. All right. Step number 1, I'll go ahead and tell you the interesting, not non-interesting stuff first. Okay. They were a crafter. They sold things online, and they had some materials that I'm going to use immediately. All right. Tape. It was just in a box, and I bought that for pennies. Really? Bubble mailers. There were only 3, but in essence, those were like pennies. And if I were to have to go out to buy that, that's about $7 worth of stuff, what I just showed you. Okay. Now, here's the goods. All right. This was next to a Mac that was for sale. It was a very old Mac. Okay. But right beside it was this, and it was in a separate pile of softwares that it had. This probably is worth more than the computer was. Look it up. If you see and everything else, little sleeve with the discs in it, this is money. This is about $30 or $40. And they threw that in with this other stuff. Let me show you 2 other softwares that were there that I picked up. These are Mac fonts. It's about $10 there. And then this is 2010, the Office. That's okay. This one is about 20 to 30, and that's about 10. Like I said before, we've already got 20. So we're already at 50 at this sale. And again, on everything that you're going to see, I bought it for $12.50. Let's keep going. Here is your tip for your life lesson for the day, and it comes in the form of a refrigerator magnet. I'm not going to sell this. This is for me, but it says, as you can say, if your dog doesn't trust somebody, you shouldn't either. So there's your life lesson for the day. That's going on our refrigerator right after I click stop on the recorder. Along the same lines, something else that I bought for use, personal use, glasses cleaners. Okay. What's so funny is it's a little piece of paper, and it's still, those are about 50 cents a piece when you use them. I got that as a throw-in, what I had already. So I can make money or I can save money. Those are both net gains for me. All right, let's keep going. The person or people had a pet, and they had a pet grooming system. And this was an unused razor head for their things. It's about $15. Gave 50 cents for that. And I've said this before, and I'll say this again. If it is a well-stocked bathroom in an estate sale, always look for vintage soaps. This is, again, it was soap, so it was about 50 cents. This is about $14 because they don't make it anymore. And when they did buy it, they bought it at Home Goods. So a lot of people went through it and didn't think it was anything. But again, it's a $14 item. I paid pennies. And there's another one just the same. Well, I would have said the same thing if it was just the same. One of it has to do with ginseng and the other has to do with lemons. And again, about $14 each. A+. Let's keep going. Back to personal use items. This was a box in the basement, down in the back shelf. And this is brand new. It is some cleaning products like we use now. Have you heard of XO stuff? It is some cleaner and deodorizer. We have some pets. I may show you our dog in just the end of the show. That was, maybe $1 or $2. Again, $12.50 for everything you're seeing. That's probably a $30 item. There are 2 of them, and it's brand new, still in that box. Felt really good about that. Let me repeat what I said before, that if making money or saving money, both helps me out. All right. The last thing has to do with shipping again. I started with shipping and want to end with shipping. This is a roll of wrapping paper where they would wrap up their items when they went to sell things. Well, I wrap things too. That thing probably in a store, or had I needed to purchase it, would be a $6 or $7 item itself. I got it for free, or a throw in there at the very end. $12.50 into, if I add it all up correctly, about $120 or so dollars. Check my math on that, but I think that's about right. It took me an hour both ways to go in the 2 sales, then about half an hour to go to both sales. So it's about an hour and a half, $120 over an hour and a half. That puts my hourly rate at something like $50 for a Sunday afternoon. And again, it was also during a time where we had camaraderie too. So A+ on our camaraderie weekend, and I hope you had the same. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.